Hey everyone, it's Admiral Prince Eric here. Welcome back to World of Warships. Now, in this video to be discussed about the closed test 14.6 about the new contents as well as the new ships. Particularly was on the last time my short video was made a promise about the upcoming Tech 3, most notably the German heavy large cruisers. That was made a sneak peek ahead by World of Warships developers that was never watched it back on the Friday midnight here in the Philippines. Okay, before we gotta get started, so be sure to like my video, subscribe my channel, and click the bell on the notification icon. So let's get started. Okay, okay. Before we head on to the new ships, let's start off the close test 40.6 about the early access of the American destroyers of the Tech Tree, including the graphics update and a more about to be topic. Alright, so let's start off the close test 40.6. We got early access to a new branch of American destroyers, graphic updates, and a more about to be topic. Was posted about on Thursday here in the Philippine Standard Time, which was published by the World of Warships developers here in the Europe and later on in the North America. So it was posted about at 8:12 a.m. about on June 5. Yes. So let's get this the full reading compensation. Okay, so welcome back to the DevBlog captains. The seas are still once again as we set sail into the full details of update 14.6. Early access to American destroyers takes the spotlight this time around, backed by a new graphics processing update to make the game look crisper than ever. Okay, so we got a newcomers right now for the update 40.6 will be held on July 2025, which is going to be the American destroyers that was started from the Tier 6 American destroyer Farragut. Okay, so only historical ship we got the USS Hodges, a member of the Sim class destroyers. So you might recognize that the Sims there is a premium destroyer, as well as the rest of the top tier ships like no other Osborne, Christopher, and Boros, where on designs there was way back in the 1940s during the Second World War and the early stages of the Cold War. Okay, so early access to American destroyers. A brand new line of American destroyers consisting of Tier 7 Hodges, Tier 8 Osborne, Tier 9 Christopher, and Tier 10 the top tier Burrows enters the early access update 40.6. Now, these ships focus on main battery firepower over stealth or torpedoes, especially at the Tier 8 and above when they wield powerful 137mm guns that can fire both HE and SAP shells. These ammunition can be um, same type for the use of the Italian destroyers of the Tet Tree. The distinguishing feature of these destroyers is a unique smoke generator that can be toggled on and off at will. However, like the submarine's type capacity, the amount of smoke that can be used is limited, thus encouraging strategic usage. Moreover, this special consumable comes with a minimal activation period and a short cooldown upon deactivation. These gunboats bring a new tactical twist to the battlefield, offering players dynamic control over the positioning and engagement windows. In honor of the addition of this line, the following content will be available to the game: the Wanted Permanent Camouflage for the top tier Boros, and the Righteous Permanent Camouflage for Tier 9 Christopher. If you wanted to check it out, the World of Warships DevBlog, so please check it out on my YouTube, link in the description below. Okay, for some graphics updates will be featured in the Close Test 40.6 update. So, in this update brings a major leap forward in visual fidelity with the introduction of Wargaming Temporal Super Sampling, TAS, a new anti-aliasing and image reconstruction method designed to significantly improve image quality without sacrificing performance. With this new feature enabled, you'll notice as follows: smooth edges and reduced aliasing that rival the visual quality of SAA 8 times, sharper details and higher definition, preserving the fine elements of ships and environments, far less flickering on ships, structures, and water reflections, improved visual stability even during intense movement or dynamic lighting scenes, minimize ghosting and visual artifacts, ensuring clean, crisp motion. In simple terms, visuals will look clearer, more stable, and less jagged, even in fast-paced action or complex lighting scenes. You can enable TSS in the graphics settings under the anti-aliasing mode option. The previous anti-aliasing options remain available for lower-end PCs, but are no longer part of the standard presets, so be sure to explore and select your preferred option. So the next one will be the classified documents for operations with flagships. It consists, as the previously announced, the classified documents used in operations with flagships will see the final level cap increase to level 11 with the update 40.6. This marks the last step before the system leaves the game in the next update, was on update 40.7. To illustrate the difference it makes, the following table compares classified documents at levels 1, 5, 8, and 11 against the Torpedo Master Cruiser, some of which the level 1 starts the attack capabilities for over plus 10% torpedo damage, plus 10% flooding damage, and defense capabilities is minus 5% taken from main battle shells. For over time until it reaches the max level, the attack capabilities will be increased, mostly for that the torpedo and the flooding damage. For the defensive capabilities, it increased reduction for the damage taken from main battle shells, plus also additionally the 95% risk of catching fire. Now, for content reality system and container barge improvements, let us also remind you that update 14.6 will also bring the following features. Content reality system is designed to clearly show how widely available a piece of content is and how much effort is needed to obtain it. Reality of the content will be displayed in the port by colors, icons, and text. In the current iteration, the system will be applied to ships, camouflages, and enemy destruction effects. Container barge improvements. Now, for several updates to user interface design to make your interactions with containers faster and more transparent. You can read more about these features in the dedicated development blog post. Some content additions and changes are the following. As always, we are announcing the content that we are adding to the game as well as new and updated containers. So we will have 5 new commanders in the upcoming sessions. We got La Marianne with the individual voiceover, Alexander Gromov with individual voiceover, Angela Lutti with the individual voiceover, Ultima with the individual voiceover, and lastly Vittorio Marino. We got 2 new patches are the Grand Trial Summer Pace and the Grand Trial Champion. 5 new flags are coming to this point. We got Experiment the Ships Group 2, Strike Hard, Grand Trial Summer Base, Grand Trial Champion, and Alienware. Some notably, the Alienware is going to be a brand. For such example for that is the components of the PC parts as well as the laptop. The Alienware is going to be a brand made of collaboration for that some time. But I will check it upon to it, see what thing is right. And last but not least, but we got 2 new ships are coming. We got Kiberpanko is based on the Tier 9 Soviet light cruiser Dmitry Posharsky. The based on Dmitry Posharsky, a Tier 8 Soviet light cruiser. Next, Tempeste Nera based on the top tier Italian battle cruiser Ruggiero di Lauria. Additionally, the contents of the following containers will be changed starting with update 40.6 that I will not read through this out entirely. So there will be for the Operation Dynamo, Battle of Lake Gulf, French Squadron, as well as the premium container counterparts. So be sure to check it out immediately. Okay, so I will going to take on the Nets contents before we take it on the new ships. Okay, for the next part before the new ships are going to be the domination mode with updated settings. In update 14.5, we will have changes to domination mode in random battles, building on previous improvements. However, this will be applied after the update 40.5 was released. On the domination mode, the new settings will help to reduce the number of cases of battles ending up too quickly. Now, the updated settings are as follows. The starting number of points at the beginning of battle will be 150 at the time, both the enemy team and our team. Points for destroying an enemy ship plus 40 for all ship types. Now, for points for losing the ship, we got minus 25 for all ship types. These settings will be active for the 3 control area domination mode of the following maps, all applied as follows. You got New Dawn, Fault Line, Shards, Trident, Neighbors, Crash Zone Alpha, Northern Waters, and the Fatal Islands. On top of that, these settings will serve as an additional mode on some maps. You will be able to see the exact point settings during the pre-battle countdown and in the mission menu. Specifically, you may encounter the alternative new settings on the following maps. They got 3 control areas are available on the map for the domination. You got Ocean, Solomon Islands, Archipelago, Strait, the Atlantic, North, Hotspot, Islands of Ice, Trap, Land of Fire, Sea of Fortune, Tears of the Desert, Polar Islands, Mountain Range, Shatter, Okinawa, Warrior's Path, Loop, Sleeping Giant, and Greece. Now, for control areas for the domination battles are the following. The Ring, Hotspot, Two Brothers, Land of Fire, Northern Lights, Estuary, Sleeping Giant, Haven, Greece, Crash Zone Alpha, and the Fatal Islands. Note that you will be able to choose the scoring settings for these maps in training battles under the Domination Alternative and Domination 4 areas alternative names. We are planning further improvements to the Domination mode settings based on game data and player feedback. However, the Domination mode will be applied right now before the release the Domination mode with updated settings after the application was going forward the update 40.5 was released. Okay, now the most exciting part for these new ships are coming to the World of Warships into the virtual seas. Now, let's start off with the closed test 40.6 seats. We got a new ship DevBlog will be coming. Okay, so notably the upcoming tech tree right now, the German heavy large cruiser, as well as the tier 8 Japanese cruiser, as well as the upcoming Italian super battleship this time, that coming after the Cristoforo Colombo that I will gotta read out later. So let's go. Okay, so let's start off with the closed test 40.6 new ship DevBlog was posted by World of Warships DevBlog from Friday midnight. Yes, it was a Friday midnight was posted on the Philippine Standard Time. Okay, so let's gonna read this entirely. Here we go. Captains, we are very pleased to announce the newest branch of researchable ships coming to the game. They are the German heavy cruisers. The distinctions of that the German heavy cruiser for mostly the historical and for some of the hypothetical. They are consistently for that is the large cruiser designs. The consistently called the Panzerskiff, or also known as the pocket battleship, and the rest of them is the large cruiser. This branch will start at tier 6 and consists of 5 ships are available. We got the Deutschland, Ambushkir, Nessebeck, Manteuffel, and Prince Adalbert. Along with the release of this branch, we are introducing an often requested mechanic, manual control of your secondary battery. This feature will launch with the new German cruisers, starting from tier 8 Nessebeck and above. But that does not mean it will be solely a feature of this line, as other ships in the future will also benefit from this new ability. Okay, some important elements to note when controlling secondary battles. So this is the actual going for a manually, unlike for that the German cruisers like the ambush cruiser will be automatically setting. But in this newly German heavy large cruiser tech tree, they will be going for the manual fire control secondaries. Okay, you will see about that. You will be able to swap between main and secondary battery controls, like you do with other types of armament, for example, between main battery guns and torpedoes. When they are not being manually controlled, they act the same as other secondary batteries. Your main guns will track the crosshair while you're operating the secondary battery. By switching to manual control of your secondaries, the characteristics may change compared to automatic mode. For these cruisers, this results in a small buff to the range of secondary guns. While manual control is active, the secondary mounts that don't have an angle of fire on the crosshair will not automatically target or fire upon enemy ships. Sorry, you just have to wait for that. Just have to wait, excuse me. Okay, I'm back again. So I really was going to check it out for some windows that gonna be the closed because of the rain. Okay, so let's continue. All signals and skills that impact secondaries will continue to function as they currently do. And now, let's take a closer look at the new line. Compared to existing branch of German cruisers, these ships will specialize in close quarter combat through their large but relatively short-range main battery guns and the improved secondary batteries. Combined with the typical German traits of improved HE penetration and high-accuracy search, as well as the solid protection, these ships will be able to take the fight to the enemy despite their large size and poor handling for cruisers. You know that was the last encounter for that is the docked ship Ambush Cruiser. You might recognize about the ship with the feature for that is going for the secondary build. So let's get started in this topic. Okay, before we up to this, let's talk about something a new ship that's coming. We're divided into three phases. The first batch we're going for some of the historical ships, notably the Deutschland class cruiser. As you might recognize for that, a premium ship is going to be the Grouch B. Now, her sister ships, Deutschland and Ambush here, which is going to be a member of the Deutschland class cruisers, will be joined up with the Tet 3 ship. The second part is going to be Tier 8, is based on the P class cruiser with the use of the 280mm guns. That was featured for that the German heavy cruiser Skill. Now, for the final part is going to be Manteuffel and Prince Adalbert are based on consistently designs on the base of the Ambush Cruiser, the docked ship event that was suggested to be recognized only. Okay, so let's get started about these newly information details. If you wanted to check it out historical infos about the famously well-known Deutschland class cruiser store, be sure to check it out in the Wikipedia article linked in the description. Notably, the Deutschland and Ambush gear, as well as the P-class cruisers. Be sure to check it out. Okay, so let's start off the Tier 6 German heavy cruiser Deutschland. She's the lead ship of the Deutschland class cruiser, the first member of the famed German pocket battleships, also known as the Panzerskiff. An advanced hull design with extensive use of welding and diesel engines instead of the conventional turbine power plant allowed the Reichsmarine to outthink the restrictions placed on Germany with the Treaty of Versailles and build ships that no other nation had expected them to. The impressive characteristics, namely the use of 283mm battleship-grade main guns, made them formidable opponents and triggered a naval arms race, helping to influence the capital ship's design of the 1930s. She conducted a raid into the Atlantic Ocean in 1939 with a limited success, before being renamed to Lotso in 1940. She spent most of the war operating in and around Norway, where during the invasion she was damaged by the same defenses that sunk Blucher. She and the heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper took part in the Battle of Bering Sea in 1942. Later in the war, she operated in support of German land forces on the Eastern Front, but she was sunk by Royal Air Force bombers in April 1945 before the Germany surrendered. Please note, her model is still undergoing development. We will use a different model, Admiral Reinhardt, with identical parameters for testing purposes. As you might suggested about, you might recognize her sister ship Grouch B. Now, for the Tet 3 counterpart is going to be Admiral Reinhardt, as supposed to be as a testing base for Deutschland. Okay, so let's comparable about the, for example, the famously well-known the Grouch B. Okay, so the survivability we got 31,400, which is the highest. The survivability we got hit points 31,400, plating 25mm, fire duration 60 seconds, torpedo protection 22%, meaning her sister ship Grouch B, which is the highest hit points, rather than the Tet 3 counterpart is 31,400. That is the lowest. The main battery will be used the 2x3 283mm guns. The firing range is 15.8 km. HE shell damage 3200, armor penetration 71mm, chances to cause fire 20%, HE initial velocity 890 meters per second, 8 sorry, the AP shell damage consists 7600 and the velocity is 890 meters per second. The reload time is 23 seconds, 180 degree turn time 27.7 seconds, the dispersion 181 meter, and the sigma is gonna be 2.0. Now, comparison about that the Reinhardt and the Admiral Grouch B. Her main battery guns is gonna be the same. The reload time is going to be the Tech 3 is the highest, rather than the Grouch B is 20 seconds. Now, for the firing range is about the 15.8 kilometers compared the Grouch B though is 16 kilometers. Now, for the HE shell damage is going to be the same parameters, but the armor piercing damage meanwhile is the lowest, rather than the Grouch B, the highest one is 8,400. The initial velocity of that, the HE shells is the highest one, like 910 millimeter for the Grouch B. Sorry, the 910 meters per second is the example of those. But the AP shell damage is going to be the same, but the highest was the standard for the Grouch B. Now, for the 180 degree turn time is about 27.7 seconds, which is the highest, rather than the Grouch B is the lowest of them. The dispersion is 181 millimeter. That was a high one. Unlike the Grouch B, though, is 170 meters. Now, for the airstrikes, we got something to take combination. Okay, for the airstrikes, we got the reload time 20 seconds. The available flights will be 1. The number of aircraft in attacking flight will be 1. The maximum range 60 kilometers. Number of bombs in payload will be only for 1. The bomb damage is 2,900. Okay, so in contrast, will be the same as much like the Grouch B. Now, for torpedoes, we got the 2x4 533mm. The maximum damage is 30,700. Range is 8 kilometers. Speed 65 knots. Reload time 90 seconds. And torpedo detectability 1.3 kilometers. Although the Grouch B, though, you might recognize about the Grouch B is the same as usual for the same parameters. For secondary armament, we got the range 5.6 kilometers. It consists as the following. We got the 3x2 105mm and the 8x1 150mm, which is going to be the reload. For the 105mm gun, we got the reload time 2.4 seconds, HE shell damage 1,200, 5% chances to fire, initial velocity 900 meters per second, armor penetration 26mm. Well, technically it's going to be the same as usual, these parameters, unlike the Grouch B. As well as the secondary battery though is not the same. The reload time for the secondary is for the counterparts of the Grouch B is the highest one. Unlike for that the Tech 3 counterpart, the Deutschland is going to be the lowest. Okay, so 8x1 150mm this time was the highest of the reload time to Grouch B. The same parameters for the maximum damage, same as usual. Now, okay, for the next part we got the A defenses. A defenses consist 12x1 20mm, 4x2 37mm, 2x4 20mm, and 3x2 105mm. Although the parameters will be the same as usual, unlike the counterpart of Grouch B. Some continuous damage we got for the okay, so let's get started off with this one. Okay, so continuous damage for the Grouch B example is 111. Now, for the short range ones, it's going to be for the short, mid, and long range, it's going to be comparison. It's going to be the low one. So the Deutschland is going to be the highest ones. Hit probability will be the same parameters, and the action zone will be the same as well. The damage in auto is the same parameters on the using the anti-aircraft defense like the Deutschland and the Grauchpeter. Okay, so the maximum speed we got a 28 kilometers. Although the ground speed is the highest one, 28.5 kilometers. Turning circle radius 680 meters is the same. The rudder shift time is 9.8 seconds. Compared to ground speed though is the lowest one. Surface detectability we got 12.8 kilometers. Air detectability 6.6 kilometers. Air detectability after firing main guns of smoke we got 9.5 kilometers. Although the sea air detectability is not the same, and the firing main guns of smoke is the same. Okay, so the first slot. Okay, so this coming from the German heavy large cruiser detectory. They were using the unlimited damage control party, which is the fast damage control team. This consumable is going to be the same as usual, like the Soviet battleships and the German battle cruisers. Now for the second slot we got the repair party. The third slot will be hydrokinetic search and can also exchange with the defensive air fire. The fourth slot we got a fighter. Technically the consumables will be the same as usual. Okay, so the next one is the Tier 7 German heavy cruiser Admiral Skier. She is a member of the Deutschland class cruiser, and she was named after the German Admiral Reinhard Skier. He was well-famed commander of the Battle of Jutland, alongside the Franz von Hipper, a sister ship to Graf Spee and Deutschland. She also served in the Spanish Civil War in a more active role, bombarding the city of Almeria. She undertook commerce raiding operations in the South Atlantic and Aegean Oceans at the start of the Second World War. Overall, she was most successful of the German surface warships when it came to commence raiding, sinking 70 ships equal to 113,223 gross registered tonnage. Her later wartime career was much quieter than her sisters, as following her sailing as part of the task force to attack convoy PQ-17. She was returned to Germany to act as a training ship. She returned to active duty in 1944 to support German forces on the Eastern Front. After moving to Kiel for repairs in March 1945, she was sunk by Royal Air Force bombers in April. The sister was partially scrapped, with what remained being buried. Now, for the Tier 7 Admiral Skier, usually her sister ship of the Deutschland as well as the Graf Spee. Now, for survivability, we got 38,900. Unlike the Graf Spee, is the highest one. Plating, we got 25mm. Fire duration 60 seconds. The torpedo protection is 22%. Although this was a same parameters. Now for the main battery for the Admiral Skier, we got the same parameters for the usual for the Graf Spee. Although these changes may apply. Although the same damage was used for the high explosive one and the armor piercing damage. The reload time is going to be 23 seconds, which is the highest one. Compared to the Graf Spee is 20 seconds. The 180 degree turn time is 27.7 seconds, which is the highest one. Maximum dispersion 186mm, which is the highest. Compared to the Graf Spee is the lowest. Sigma is going to be 2.0. The airstrikes as usual, we got 25 seconds. The same parameters as usual, but the bomb damage was increased to 3,400, and as well as the reload time on it as well. Now, as usual, the rest of the Deutschland class cruisers, they will use the 2x4 533mm, although this is usually the same parameters. Now, the secondary armament is usually the same classification of the rest of the Deutschland and the Graf Spee are same parameters on it as well. Now, for the AA defenses is going to be the same parameters on it as well, but increases the continuous damage per second, the probability, and the action zone time. Almost the, almost they have, almost they have literally done to do so. The maximum speed we got 23.8.3 knots. This is the lowest one. Compared to the ground speed, it's 28.5 kilometer. The turning circle radius, which is the lowest one, the ground speed is the highest one. The rudder shift time is the highest one. Compared to the ground speed though is the 8.2 seconds. The surface detectability meanwhile is going to be the increased detectability. Unlike the ground speed though is 12.8 kilometers. Air detectability we got 7 kilometers as usual, but is going to be the highest ones. Compared to the ground speed is the lowest. Detectability after firing main guns I spoke is 9.9 kilometer is going to be the lower than usual for the ground speed counterpart. Okay, so the consumables we got the fast damage control team, repair party, hydrokinesis search, defensive A5, and a catapult fighter. Although the same consumables like for the ground speed and the Deutschland. Okay, before we head on to the Nesebector, so let's just to compare about the skill. Skill is the one of the most best notable examples of the B-class cruiser. Okay, so let's start off for the Tech 3 counterpart of Skill, the German heavy cruiser Nesebek. A hypothetical version of the P-class design with 305mm main battery guns, which were considered in the 1930s as a promising arrangement for the new ships. The ship is named after the Prussian Field Marshal Karl Friedrich von dem Nesebek, a member of the House of Nesebek, and is one of the key Prussian military leaders during the Napoleonic Wars, most credited for the campaign plan of the Battle of the Nations during the wars of the Sixth Coalition against Napoleon. Okay, so the P class is usually the historically a 280mm. Unlike the Tetris counterpart, it's mostly the hypothetical 305mm main battery guns, in which the 305mm, which is the same main battery ornaments was used for Odin and the A-Gear, are the best notable examples. Okay, so compare between the Admiral Skill as well as the Nesebek meanwhile is going to be the same as usual, but not in different comparisons. So trust me for that. So the hit points is going to be 49,400. Unlike the skill is the lowest one, 44,000. Plating 27mm. Fire duration 60 seconds, and the torpedo protection 30%. Although it's the same parameters for skill as usual. Now for the artillery, for most of them the historical info about the P-class cruisers has only armed 280mm guns, rather than in-game version is 305mm. Now, the 305mm was used for the Odin and A-Gear. The fighting range is 16.8 kilometers, the HE shell damage 3600, armor penetration 76mm, chances to cause fire 27%, the initial velocity 865 meters per second, and for AP shell damage is 9400 and the initial velocity 865 meters per second. The real time is about the 23 seconds, 180 degree turn time 30 seconds, maximum dispersion 189 meters, and the sigma is 2.10. Compared to the main battery gun for that is usually the highest ones. The armor penetration is going to be the highest one. Compared to the 280mm gun is the lowest one. Chances of cross fire we got highest ones. The initial velocity is 865 meters per second compared to the skill is 910 meters per second. The reload time is going to be the highest ones, unlike the skill is 20 seconds. The 180 degree turn time is the highest one, 30 seconds, compared to skill is 25 seconds. Dispersion we got 142mm, although it's the lowest one rather than the Tetris counterpart 189 meters. Now for the airstrikes, it's going to be the reload time 30 seconds. The two available flights, number of aircraft attacking flight will be 1, maximum range is 7 kilometers, number of bombs in payload will be 2, and the bomb damage is 4,200. Although this is the same parameters on it like the counterpart skill. Now for the torpedoes, it's going to be as same as usual. The maximum damage, the 2x4 533mm. The maximum damage is 14,400. The range is 9.5 kilometers, speed 65 knots, reload time 110 seconds, and the torpedo detectability 1.3 kilometers. Although the highest damage was ever possible, unlike the skill's counterpart. The highest damage is none other than for the Nesebek. The range, meanwhile, is going to be 9.5 kilometers, with the lowest ones for the 8 kilometers per skill. The speed is the same as usual. The reload time is 110 seconds. Unlike for the skill, is 90 seconds really. The torpedo detectability is 1.3 kilometers, is usually the same that also. Now, for the secondary armament, we got range is 7.6 kilometers. For the start, using the 2x2 150mm, the reload time is 4.6 seconds. Maximum HE shell damage 1,700. Chances to cause fire 8%. Initial velocity 875 meters per second. And the HE shell armor penetration is 38mm. Compared for that, the cruiser counterpart skill, the reload time is the lowest. Unlike for the Nesebek, is the highest one. HE shell damage is 1,700, which is the highest one. Okay, so eto pala, mali pala. Compared to the standards of about 150mm we got, the reload time is the highest one for the skill, like the Nesebek 4.6 seconds. The HE shell damage we got 1,700 is same as usual. We got 8% fire chance, same. The 875 meters per second is always the same. Armor penetration we got 38mm is always the same parameters. Now for the 8x2 128mm, the reload time is about 4.1 seconds. HE shell damage 1,500. Chances to cause fire 5%. Initial velocity 900 meters per second. And the HE shell armor penetration 32mm. Compared for that, the skill though, the skills using the 105mm gun. But it's not the same as that as usual. Okay, so the next one is the A defenses. A defenses we got 8x2 128mm, 6x2 37mm, and 16x4 20mm. Okay, compared to the continuous damage for that, the short range, mid range, and the long range. The continuous damage for that on that time is the same parameters, but not for the mid-range and the long range. The hit probability is always the same, and the action zone time will be the same as also. Number of shell explosions desirable will be the same parameters on it as well. Now the maximum speed we got 32.5 knots, turning circle radius 760 meters. Although this was the same parameters unlike the skill's counterpart. Rudder shift time is going to be 12.4 seconds, surface detectability 13.9 kilometer, air detectability 7.9 kilometer, and detectability after firing main guns with smoke will be 11 kilometers. So the consumables is usually the same thing as well from its match counterpart. Okay, so let's move on to the Schroeder. Meanwhile, it's going to be the final part of the German heavy large cruiser. It's based mostly for that the Admiral Schroeder. Okay, so the next one we're going to be the Tier 9 German large cruiser Manteuffel. This was not named after the Hassel von Montalvo, the Wehrmacht officer, but the ship named after the German German Prussian Field Marshal as well as the Otto. A large ship that could be seen as a transitional stage between a cruiser and a battleship, with 6 350mm main battery guns, which were under consideration as a main armored prospective battleships in 1935. The cruiser was named in the honor of General Feldmarschall Edwin von Manteuffel, and one of the famous German commanders of the Franco-Prussian War, and is as well as known as an Otto. The hit points is 59,300, plating 27mm, fire duration 60 seconds, and torpedo protection will be 22%. The artillery, the main battery consists of 3x2 350mm guns. This is the largest main caliber for the large cruiser guns that surpass from the French large cruiser from the Brest and Marseille that having 330mm gun. The firing range is 17.6 kilometers. HE shell damage 4,000, armor penetration 88mm, chances of crossfire 27%, initial velocity 850 meters per second. AP shell damage we got 10,500 and initial velocity is the same. Reload time is 25 seconds, 180 degree turn time 30 seconds, maximum dispersion 196 meters, and the sigma is going to be 2.0. For the airstrikes they use the reload time 30 seconds. They got 2 available flights. Number of aircraft attacking flight will be 1. Maximum range is 7 kilometers. Number of bombs in battle will be 2. The bomb damage is 4,200. For torpedoes, we got a 2x4 533mm. The maximum damage 14,400. Range is 9.5 km. Speed 65 knots. Reload time 110 seconds. And torpedo detectability 1.3 km. For secondary armament, they will use the 8 km range 3x2 150mm gun, as well as 9x2 128mm gun. The reload time for 150mm is 4.6 seconds. HE shell damage 1,700. Chances of crossfire 8%. Initial velocity 875 meters per second. HE shell armor penetration got 38mm. Next one is the 128mm 9x2. The reload time 4.1 seconds. Maximum HE shell damage 1,500. Chances of crossfire 5%. Initial velocity 900 meters per second. And the HE shell armor penetration we got 32mm. Compared for that, the Admiral Cruiser they used the 150mm that was example 3x2. So the reload time parameter for the basis of the Admiral Cruiser and Manteuffel, which is the lowest reload time, we got 4.5 seconds. Without an upgrade store is usually the highest one. The 1,700, the chances of crossfire 8%, unlike for the Cruiser is 9%. The 875 meters per second is the highest one for the Cruiser, 960 meters per second. Armor penetration is the same. Now for the secondary battery, we got a 9x2. Sorry, the parameters are as follows. So the reload time is 4.1 seconds without upgrade. So we got a 2.3 seconds reload time with the upgrade. The HE shell damage, we got the same parameters. Chances of crossfire, which is the highest for the Cruiser. Initial velocity is the 900 meters per second, same, and the HE shell armor penetration 32mm. Without the upgrade though, is the secondary battery is usually the same parameters. For the AA defenses, we got 9x2 128mm, 14x4 20mm, and 6x2 55mm. Okay, so let's start on something, the continuous damage. The continuous damage for that is usually not as good for that as parameters. The hit probability is always the same, and the action zone meanwhile is going to be the same parameters, but not for the mid-range though. It's going to be 3.7 kilometers. Number of explosion salvo will be the seats 1,540. Compared to that, the Cruiser is 1,771 damage. The action zone will be the same parameters. The next one is the maximum speed 32.5 knots, which is the same parameter. Sorry, that is not the not the similar parameters. 30 circle radius 840 meters per second, rudder shift time 30.6 seconds, surface detectability 14.5 kilometer. Without an upgrade though, with an upgrade though, it's going to be the 10.2 kilometer. Air detectability we got 11.5 kilometer. With the upgrade is 8.1 kilometer. Detectability after firing main guns of smoke got 12.8 kilometers. If you go into the command skill though, it's going to be the 9.5 kilometer though. The same parameters on this consumable. But lastly is going to be the top tier German large cruiser Prince Adalbert. Prince Adalbert is named after Prince Adalbert of Prussia, turning out to be a member of the predecessor Prince Adalbert class cruiser of the Imperial German Navy. A super heavy cruiser, a hypothetical version for the development of the idea of a powerful ocean radar arm with battleship guns. The ship inherited the name of her predecessor, the Kaiser Liebherr armored cruiser, which was sunk during the combat mission in the First World War. Turned out to be named after Prince Adalbert of Prussia. So Prince Adalbert is going to be the top tier. So the hit points is 63,900, plating is 27mm, flight duration 60 seconds, torpedo protection we got 37%. The artillery using the main battery 3x3 350mm. The firing range is 80.2 km. HE shell damage 4000. HE shell armor penetration we got 88mm. Chances to cross fire 27%. Initial velocity 850 meters per second. AP shell damage we got 10,500. Initial velocity is the same parameter. Reload time is 27 seconds. 180 degree turn time 30 seconds. Maximum dispersion 201 meters. And the sigma is 2.1. The airstrikes meanwhile is going to be the reload time 30 seconds. We got 2 available flights. Number of aircraft in the tactical flight will be 1. Maximum range is 8 km. Number of bombs in payload will be only 2. The bomb damage is 4,900. For torpedoes, we got a 2x5 533mm. The maximum damage is 14,400. Range is 9.5 kilometers. Speed 65 knots. Reload time is 110 seconds. And torpedo detectability 1.3 kilometers. Secondary range, we got the same parameters on the usual as well, like the Admiral Schroeder. The 4x3 150mm and the 9x2 128mm. Now for the air defenses, we got the same parameters on that usually as well. The same parameters for the continuous damage per second and the hit probability. The actual zone time will be the same. The number of explosions meanwhile is also the same parameters for the average cruiser. The maximum speed is 33 knots, turning circle radius 900 meters, rudder shift time 14.1 seconds, surface detectability 14.7 km, air detectability 9.6 km, and detectability after firing main guns of smoke will be 13 kilometers. So okay, so the consumables we got the fast damage control team. They are limited charges for that. The repair party consumable. The first slot using the fast damage control team or limited damage control party. The slot 2 repair party, 100 QC search, and can also for that the defensive AA file. Okay. But coming after the conclusion the German heavy large cruiser line, I will see right up to it in the near future. We're going forward the testing and the showcasing for the top tier Prince Adalbert. Okay, so let's move on. So the next one is the tier 10 Japanese heavy cruiser Kushiro. A ship which, as in the case of Mogami class, could have been laid down as a light cruiser and only later rearmed, was named after one of the Japanese rivals. In battle, Kushiro will be enjoyable for fans for Japanese heavy cruisers with her good HE shell characteristics and torpedoes. Compared to Sao, she has the strongest set of consumables, including an improved repair party with faster cooldown and better hit point recovery. Additionally, she retains the typical Japanese cruiser consumable set Hydrokinesis Surge, defensive AA and Sparta catapult fighter. However, for the first time for the Japanese heavy cruiser, Kushiro will have access to a soft smoke generator consumable, similar to that found on Italian cruisers. Among her downsides are slow turret traverse speed, a large turning circle, and lower than average torpedo range. Combined with her large citadel, this means you need to maneuver carefully to avoid taking heavy damage. Fortunately, her soft smoke and strong hail should make these not as devastating as they might have otherwise been. In battle, Kushiro will need to help keep good situation awareness to maximize her firepower's impact while also being aware of potential threat directions. Her consumable arrangement will allow her to mitigate her less than stellar handling. Of particular importance to use the assault smoke generator to allow both aggressive pushes and to cover your withdrawals. Given your large citadel, making big turns could spell the end for you. Okay, the Japanese cruiser Kushiro, Tier 10, the survivability, hit points 50,200, plating 25mm, fire duration 30 seconds, torpedo protection 33%. The main battery got 5x2 203mm. Fighting range is 17.2 kilometers. HE shell damage we got 3,300. HE shell armor penetration 34mm. Chances of crossfire 70%. Initial velocity 840 meters per second. The AP shell damage we got 4,700. AP initial velocity is the same. Reload time is 10.6 seconds. 180-degree turn time 30 seconds, maximum dispersion 151 meters, and sigma is 2.05. For the airstrikes, we go for the reload time 30 seconds. We got 2 available flights. Number of aircraft in the attacking flight will be 1. The range is 8 kilometers. 2 number of bombs in payload. The bomb damage is 4,900. Torpedoes, we go for the 4x4 610mm. Maximum damage 21,367. Range is 8 km. Speed 76 knots. Reload time is 100 seconds. Torpedo detectability 1.8 km. For the secondary armament, we go for 6x2 100mm. Range is 7.3 km. Reload time 2.9 seconds. HE shell damage 1,700. Chances of crossfire 6%. HE initial velocity 1,000 meters per second, and the HE shell armor penetration 30mm. Air defenses consist the 10x3 25mm, 20x1 25mm, 6x2 100mm, and the 10x2 40mm. The short, mid, long range as follows. For the short range is 144 damage, hit probability 85%, the action zone will be 2.5 km. For the mid-range, we got the damage 189, 90% hit probability, the action zone 3.5 km. For the long range, we got the 151 damage, probability 90%, and the action zone will be 5.8 km. Number of explosions in the salvo will be 6, damage within explosion 1,540, the action zone from 3.5 to 5.8 km. Now maximum speed is 34.5 knots, turning circle radius 860 meters, rudder shift time 8.5 seconds, surface detectability 12.7 km, and air detectability 7.6 km. Detectability after firing main guns of smoke will be 7.6 km. So the consumables are the following. The first slot is the unlimited damage control party. Slot 2, repair party. The third slot is soft smoke generator. The fourth slot, Hydrokinesis Surge, and can be exchanged with the defensive AA-5. The fifth slot is the fighter, or catapult fighter, that can also exchange with the Spartan aircraft. Now, last but not least is going to be the Italian super battleship Affondatore. Going to be the Cristoforo Columbus 2.0, as well as the first super ship will be coming into the test. Will be coming into the test gameplay feature. Now, the Italian version of the maximum battleship concept, a ship of unlimited displacement with extremely powerful artillery arrangement. The battleship inherited her name from one of the first Italian ironclads, the famous Affondatore, literally sinker. which was the first Italian flagship at the Battle of Lissa 1866. Affondatore will play in the same vein as her Tier 10 counterpart, combining a large battle count with access to powerful AP shells, allowing the potential extremely heavy volleys. Unlike the ships of her Tech 3, Affondatore does not carry sap shells for her main battery guns. She has typical strong armor found on the Italian battleships that ensures good citadel protection. In terms of her consumable fate, she carries improved exhaust smoke with a larger radius, longer action time and a faster cooldown that will allow you to make use of it more often when the situation suits it. Her key downsides are medium accuracy and relatively short range compared to her tier peers. It means that you will require closing to ranges where you need to rely on her solid protection. Additionally, her large size means her handling isn't the best and torpedoes will be an ever-present threat to you. Affondatore also carries a combat instructions, charged by hits on main battery guns. They enhance her secondary battery rate of fire, penetration and dispersion, as well as improve the shoot speed by 10%. The combat instructions, however, does not increase your secondary battery range. Therefore, to get the maximum use out of them, you must close to extremely short range, a situation that your solid armor protection and improved exhaust mode will be vital in. While at the hand of Affondatore, we advise you to engage enemies at medium range, relying on the might of her main battery. Wait for the right moment, when your combat instructions are charged and a vulnerable enemy is nearby, and then close the distance. Once you're really close to the enemy, activate combat instructions to give your secondary guns devastating power and unleash the fire on the opponent. Affondatore's assault smoke generator will also help you close the range with the enemy and make the most of her secondaries. Alternatively, both smoke and the buff to speed provided by combat instructions might help you to disengage for unfavorable encounters. So Affondatore is the upcoming Italian super battleship that was not to be featured using the semi-armor piercing shells that were used for the regular ammunition. They used for that the heavy high explosive door and the armor piercing rounds. So main battery will be 4x4 406mm. The firing range is 19.3 km. HE shell damage 5700. Armor penetration 68mm. Chances of cross fire 36%. Initial velocity 836 meters per second. AP shell damage we got 13,050 and the velocity is the same. The reload time is 35 seconds, 180 degree turn time 40 seconds, maximum dispersion 255 meters, and the sigma is 1.60. That is low accuracy for the standards, unlike the Italian battleships of the Tet 3. For combat instructions, direct control over secondary battery crews. This will be the similar for the German super battleship Hanover, but in this ability are as follows. Hit an enemy ship with a main battery shell 3.5%, activation time 45 seconds, time before you start losing progress 60 seconds, progress lost per second will be 5%. The activation effects, the secondary battery reload time minus 75%, the secondary battery each shell armor penetration capacity will be 100%, the maximum secondary battery shell dispersion minus 80%, and the shoot speed we got 10%. The airstrikes will be the reload time 30 seconds, available flights will be 2, number of aircraft in attacking flight will be 1, maximum range is 11 km, number of bombs in payload will be 2, and the maximum bomb damage will be 4,900. For the secondary armament will be the 6x3 135mm. The range is 7.3 km. Reload time is 6.1 seconds. HE shell damage 1950. Chances of cross fire 9%. Initial velocity 875 meters per second. And the armor penetration is 23mm. The air defenses consist of 14x1 76.2mm and 6x3 135mm. The mid-range and the long range for that as follows. For the mid-range, damage per second 980, 75% hit probability, action zone will be 4 kilometers. And for the air defense long range is going to be the damage 49, the hit probability 75%, and the action zone will be 4.6 kilometers. Number of explosions in the salvo will be 3, damage within the explosion we got 1540, the action zone from 3.5 to 4.6 kilometers. The maximum speed we got 30 knots, 30-second radius 1020 meters, rudder shift time 20.2 seconds, surface detectability 17.4 kilometer, air detectability 60.2 kilometer, and detectability after firing main guns of smoke will be 17.5 kilometer. For the consumables, this was the usually same ahead like the Italian battleships of the Tet 3, but not without the feature the catapult fighter or spotting aircraft. The first slot is damage control party unlimited charges, the second slot repair party, and the last one is the source sport generator. Now, lastly, if you wanted to check it out, this post, we are now ready to show the final looks of the top tier Soviet battleship Sibir and the tier 10 high French French hybrid cruiser Admiral Lighting. So if you wanted to check it out on the YouTube post right now. So that's the conclusion right now for so far for the upcoming contents of the closed test 40.6 as well as the new ships. Right now in this future we'll be ahead to seeking through of all things. Mostly for that the German battleships was the prime example. Please note that all information in the development blog is preliminary. Announced adjustments and features may change multiple times during testing. The final information will be published on our game's website. Okay, so that's conclude right now for the closed test 40.6, including some domination game settings right now. So we're gonna get ready for the upcoming new contents during the update 40.5 for the public test server. So I would like to check it out for something goes on. But in the near future, we're gonna be set an example for that for the showcasing ahead for this top tier, the German large cruiser Prince Annabelle. So I will look going forward to it. So this is what's the prime example for the ambush cruiser. It's a dark ship. Okay, so I hope you enjoy about my contents right now that I read entirely. So please sure to leave my like, subscribe, and click the bell notification icon. So I hope you enjoy about my video, and I will see you guys in my next video. So stay tuned ahead for the data mine of the update 40.5. We'll be on to it right away. Okay, so thank you guys, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out, guys.